Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome into the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. I'm Mark Elliott. Glad you are with us. Rick is a partner at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Rick and the team have decades of experience in the financial world. Reed Abedin, Eddie Soda. Eddie's going to actually join us on this program coming up. Not this week, but he'll be joining us in weeks to come down the road. And, of course, Rick and the team. They're all about helping you figure out where you are on that road to retirement. Can I retire? Do I have enough? Are we going to be okay? Will our money last? You can always give them a call if you have questions. You want to find out about your situation. You'd like some clarity into your retirement picture. I think I'm good. I hope I'm good. Why not find out? 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. And you can always go to the website to learn more. You can even set up for a time to come in and chat with them that way as well. Safeguardinvestment.com, safeguardinvestment.com. Hey, Rick, how are you?
Oh, doing real good, Mark. Thank you. How about yourself?
Doing well. And we're going to talk today about the regrets that retirees have. That means they've retired, and you go ask them, hey, what do you, anything you regret about your life leading into retirement? And I think one of the crazy, I'm 65, Rick, so I'm way, way older than you. But I think about college, in my 20s and going, retirement? What are you talking about? I need to save for retirement. I'm not going to, 60 is so far down the road. Well, now I'm 65 going, I think I messed that up a little bit. I think I should have saved a little bit more. And that is certainly one of the biggest regrets that retirees have, is that they don't feel like they saved enough and maybe didn't save in the right way. How do you see that?
You know what? Yeah, that's actually a very common thing that we get when we see people or meet people for the first time. And we get it from all sides of the spectrum, so to speak. Basically, what I mean by that is this, I can get somebody that, comes in and they're worried about retirement. Maybe, they feel like they didn't save enough, and maybe they really didn't. And then I have others that are on the other side of the spectrum where they saved a lot and they did very well for themselves, but they're still nervous about retirement and they feel like they didn't saved enough or they're really concerned about it. So, those that, were very diligent are concerned, and those that maybe weren't so diligent are also concerned. So the advantage of them coming in and sitting down with, somebody like us is that we can actually kind of, so to speak, put pen to paper and help them, realize if they are in a good situation. Sometimes they just want to see it kind of like in black and white that, hey, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. And they just need that second opinion. They need to hear it from a professional that they're going to be fine. And then there's others that are on the other side of the equation that maybe they need some help and they are behind, but they're afraid to address it. They keep procrastinating. I had somebody tell me the other day, she's like, Rick, I thought that, you had to have a lot of money in order to, work with somebody like yourself. And I go, well, here's the thing. How do you think these people end up with a lot of money? They have a plan. They work with somebody to help them get to that point. So, it's just a matter of no matter where you're at and how you're feeling, the only way to get over those anxieties is to sit down with somebody and help them walk you through it. And if you feel, hey, I don't have a lot, or maybe I don't have enough to work with somebody, I think that's even more of a reason for you to contact somebody so they can actually put together a game plan for you to get you to the point where you get rid of some of that anxiety about retirement.
Absolutely. And you can call Rick and the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, 800-700-1980, if you'd like to have a conversation. At least figure out where you are. I think that's why it's such an important opportunity for you, is just to get clarity. Boy, I think we've got it. I wonder if we've got enough. Why not find out? 800-700-1980. There was a study. This study comes from the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies. And it says that half of the respondents to their survey wish they hadn't waited as long as they did to start saving. More than 2/3 of retirees wish they would have saved more and on a consistent basis. And I think what you brought up is really interesting, because I think there's no question. You go back to 2008, what was the pervasive mood was, holy cow, the Great Recession. I'm never going to be able to retire. I just lost half my money. And a lot of those people probably still think that today. I don't think I can retire ever. I mean, that wiped me out. And they don't really know what it takes. I think we get caught up in that number. You need $1 million, you need $2 million, you need $3 million to be able to retire. Well, it depends on the income you need. I mean, if I have a pension and Social Security it probably doesn't really matter that much to what I've saved. I might be good to go. I don't need a whole bunch in savings. If I don't have a pension and my Social Security is there, but never know about it, right? Then it's a different story. So it kind of depends on the income you need and maybe your age you retire, how long the retirement. I don't know. There's a lot of factors you got to figure in, isn't there?
Oh, totally. And I'm glad you actually brought up a great point, because I see this all the time, Mark, where somebody will come in, and they, you can Google all this information, and there's a lot of general information on the internet. And they'll say, hey, you need to have $1 million. Another site will say you need to have 2 million. Another says, you need to have 80% of your salary. And then the other thing that I hear too, when people come in, sometimes they're in tears and they're like, Rick, my colleagues, have saved 700,000, $1 million, $2 million in their 401ks, and I only have 200 or 250, and they're in tears. And then I sit down with them, and like you were just saying a second ago, maybe the Social Security and the pensions give them $8,000 a month, and the bills are $3,000 a month. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, you're going to be fine. Actually,
I think you've won the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this money that you have in your 401k, you can let that continue to grow, and let me show you how we can leverage that, going forward. So everything is relative. Now, on the other side of the token, I have some people that'll come in and maybe they saved $1 million and they're patting themselves on the chest because that's what they read on the internet. But then they tell me, hey, Rick, I need $12,000 a month. I'm like, listen, this money's not going to last you. So really what it boils down to when it comes to retirement, what I tell people, everything's relative, but it boils down to income versus expenses. And everybody's situation is different. So rather than getting caught up with a bunch of general rules of thumb that you see on the internet, or rather than getting caught up, worrying about your neighbor or your colleagues, what they did or didn't do, you don't know their situation. Sit down with somebody that can actually ask you the appropriate questions, figure out what you are trying to accomplish moving forward, and now you can game plan what you're going to need. And by having that game plan going forward, it gives you, again, it takes like a weight off your chest. It relieves some of the stress. And now you don't have to feel like you're procrastinating, So the earlier you do your planning and the more time you have on your side, the easier it's going to be. But if you keep waiting and waiting and waiting, then the harder it's going to be down the road.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, that number, if you'd like to chat with Rick and the team, it's really just about getting clarity, I think, and then going from there. I don't think I can ever retire. Well, let's find out. I think I've got plenty. Let's find out. Because once you know, now you can make some decisions in the appropriate manner. 800-700-1980, again, is a number, no cost to you, totally complimentary to chat with Rick and the team. 800-700-1980. Another big regret, and this one is close to my heart to a degree. I have 65. I've not started Social Security yet. I was born in 1959, so my full retirement age is 66 and 10 months. So I might start it there. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. But I have options. I understand. I listen to you every week on the program. I'm gaining knowledge all the time. But my mom is 88. Her second husband retired from coaching, and so she retired at 62. What do you do when you retire? Well, I guess I start Social Security. Well, he had no life insurance or anything like that built in when he passed away. So my mom basically lived on the money she had saved to a degree, right? The house was paid off, so they had that money. But she basically was living on Social Security. And so she's like, it was one of her biggest regrets. She told me like when she was 80, boy, I wish I would have waited for Social Security a little bit longer. I would have got more money. It would have been important at this point. So how many retirees maybe regret taking Social Security, maybe not necessarily too early, but just at the wrong time for them? Because you're not wrong at 62. You're not wrong if you wait till 70. It's really, there's a timing in this process, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And there's a sweet spot for everybody. And there's a variety of factors that are going to play into it. And I'll just, quickly scratch the surface. I mean, for example, let's say, like what you were talking about, one of the concerns is that, hey, listen, if one spouse predeceases the other, we know that sometimes pension checks get cut. We know we're going to lose a Social Security check because, between husband and wife, you get to keep the higher of the two. So in some cases, there's different ways you can even take Social Security. Maybe it makes sense when somebody retires that, one spouse goes ahead and takes their Social Security early and the other spouse delays theirs. Or when it comes to husband and wife, it might be a scenario where the spouse can take, let's say, for example, their benefit now early, and then later on down the road, they actually have the option of switching to the spousal benefit where they can say, okay, I don't, mine is a lower number. If I go on spousal benefit, I actually get a higher number.
So it'd be like kind of, for example, if the husband got $3,000 in Social Security, the wife was getting $1,000, she could actually then get $1,500 because it's half of the spouse's.
Correct. And then we need to know how we need to play that. The other thing too is sometimes, I'll get clients that'll tell me, hey, Rick, you know what? I really don't need Social Security because let's just say the pensions and the investments are more than enough to sustain their standard of living, and they did really well planning wise. So you know what? I'm just going to wait till 70 and get the maximum amount at that point. Well, sometimes we say, hey, listen, I'm not so sure that might be wise for you because if you don't need the Social Security, maybe what we can do is we can actually leverage it in your favor right now. What we can do is we can actually take Social Security early since you don't need it. Maybe we leverage that to do Roth conversions for you on your IRAs and 401ks over here. We'll use the Social Security to pay the taxes on your Roth conversions. And then by the time you are 70, you still have the Social Security coming in, but now we just, converted, 300, 400, 500,000 of your IRA over to a Roth. And now that money's accumulating for you tax-free. And we leveraged it in your favor. So there's all different strategies. And again, I'm just scratching the surface, but how are you going to know about these different strategies and what's going to work best for you in your situation and how you can leverage different areas by sitting down with somebody that specializes in this area? And this is exactly what we do. And we can even run mock tax returns. We run mock tax returns for clients showing them, hey, look, if you take Social Security now, here's what your situation is going to look like. Or if we take it at a later date, here's, and we can run a tax return showing them, hey, here's the different scenarios. Here's the advantages and disadvantages of both ways. And then now that you're educated and you understand all the information, then you and your spouse can make an informed decision as to what's best for you moving forward.
800-700-1980. Social Security has a lot of rules, and there's a lot of things that change with Social Security, it seems like, all the time. So you need to stay up on this. You need to make the right decision for you. I have friends that have started theirs at 62. I have others that keep working and don't start it yet. So there's a right time for you. When is that? I don't know. Rick can certainly help you figure that out. 800-700-1980. 800-700-1980. Totally complimentary call. We're back with more of the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group right after this.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. You can always go to the website to learn more about Rick, Reed, Eddie, and the team at safeguardinvestment.com, safeguardinvestment.com. And if you have questions, you want to find out your situation, are you good to go? Do you need to do a little bit more? Rick and the team don't know how to answer that until they actually talk with you. 800-700-1980, complimentary call, 800-700-1980. I'm Mark Elliott. We're talking about a research that was done by Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies. And they were talking about the biggest regrets that people have about retirement. Number one was people going, I just don't think I saved enough. I didn't start soon enough. I didn't think I was ever going to get that old to be able to retire. But I think it said half wish that they hadn't waited as long as they did to start saving for retirement. Then another regret people had was starting Social Security too soon. It says 30% of retirees start receiving benefits at age 62, which is the earliest you can do it, obviously. Only 4% wait till 70. Maybe it is right for you at 62. Maybe it's right for you at 70, but there's a whole bunch of time period in between. There is a right time for you to take Social Security, especially if you're married. There's a whole bunch of ways that Rick and the team at Safeguard can certainly help you with that. A couple other big regrets we're going to talk about to wrap up today's show. And this was one I would think is a factor for some. It says this is a study that was done by this Transamerica group, and it said 70% of retirees reported carrying outstanding credit card debt into retirement. They have a regret about that. But 4 years ago, that number was 40%. Now it's 70% are carrying credit card debt. Could have been COVID, could have been that kind of stuff. I don't know, but what do you think of the debt part of retirement?
Oh, that 100% goes to what we were talking about earlier, Mark, where I was saying that when you go into retirement, It's really income versus expenses. So when it comes to that scenario where I said, hey, if somebody's making $8,000 a month, they got $3,000 in bills, they're going to be okay. But if you're making $8,000 a month and you got $10,000 in bills, now we got some issues. So if you didn't save enough. So what I would definitely tell people is 100% going into retirement, we don't want any credit card debt. We want to mitigate student loans as much as possible, because I can't tell you how many times that, I sit down with people and maybe they have 150, $200,000 in student loans. And sometimes it's, these Parent Plus loans, they took out loans for their kids, and they're on the hook for the money. And what makes it even worse is that, they take out these loans and sometimes the kids don't even finish their education, but they're still on the hook for the money. So I advise clients not to do that. But whatever you got to do when it comes to retirement planning, if you can get rid of that credit card debt and pay it down, that would be a good way to go. And
I would think there are some debts that would be good debts, right? Mortgage, typically. That's kind of a good
of course,
debt.
The mortgage.
The credit card debt would obviously fall into the bad debt category.
Yeah, credit card debt would be falling under the bad debt category. So I had, let's say you feel you're paying 18%, 20% in credit cards. And let's say you owe 20 grand in credit cards. This is something you may want. Here's something that you can do if you're strapped, because I've, had people say, well, should I, take equity out on my house to pay off the cards or whatever. And granted, I understand that, the interest rate will be lower on the mortgage, and, maybe even have a tax write-off is better than paying the interest to the credit cards and pay it down sooner. Another option that people can do, and again, this is if you're in a really tight spot, is with some 401k companies, or with most 401ks, what they'll let you do is they'll let you borrow up to 50% of your 401k that you can use to, pay off debt and all the rest of it. Now, the only way I do this is that, and the only reason why I'm suggesting it is that if you're in a situation where you're paying 28% in credit card debt or 20% in credit card debt, and you're going to get rid of it and you're going to cut up those credit cards, then the advantage of borrowing the money out of the 401k is that when you borrow the money out, there's no tax consequence to you because you are borrowing it. But the interest, because you're going to have to pay it back, so you're going to be paying that money back because it is considered a loan. There's no tax on it. But the interest that they charge you on the loan is going right back into your own pocket. So if I have a choice of paying off the credit cards at 18, 20% and giving the credit card 18% interest, or borrowing the money from myself at 6 or 7% interest, and the interest goes into my retirement, I'd rather do it that way. Now, again, everybody's situation is different, and I hate to tell people to dip into 401k and retirement accounts, but when it comes to, you're getting caught behind the 8 ball, and and you're planning for retirement, we have to think of different ways that we can get rid of that debt as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And the only way to do that is to reduce that interest rate. And if we can stop paying interest to the bank and pay it to ourselves, that might be an option for some people. But again, I would sit down with a professional, have them analyze the numbers and see what makes sense. But you got to use a disciplined approach if you're going to do that.
And I think that's one of the keys to sitting down with the team at Safeguard. When you got Reed Aberdeen, Eddie Soto, Rick Rivera, they've all been in the business for several decades. They've seen a lot of things. They come up with maybe a way that you've never thought about if this is an issue. That's what I think is so cool. They understand. They've sat down with people that are super wealthy and some that are on the cusp. Boy, I wonder if I can retire. Well, I think you can if we do this and do that. They've sat down with all types of people. They can help probably, but not necessarily. Don't know for sure, right? There's no guarantees ever. 800-700-1980 if you'd like to chat with Rick and the team about some of this. 800-700-1980. All right, we got 3 minutes left. The final regret we're going to talk about is, this is surprising from the study to me, but maybe not for you because you've been in this business so long. It says 60% of retirees retire sooner than they planned. And a lot of times it's because of health, I suppose. 1 in 5 retire early because they were financially able. So only a very small percentage actually retire early because they could. Most retire because they had to.
Yeah, and here's the thing about that is when you're retiring early and you're doing it because you have to, one of the things that I want to say is that not only is it so important that, again, we talk about income versus expenses and how you're set up and all the rest of it, and make sure that you have proper expectations so you don't get hit with any surprises. But the big thing is that when we retire prior to 65, let's face it, healthcare costs are going to be dramatically different retiring before 65 versus 65 when we qualify for Medicare. So, you're talking about going from, retiring at 65, paying $400, maybe let's say $400 a month for health insurance. Prior to 65, maybe you got to pay $1,200 a month, for health insurance. So I would say that if anybody is in that scenario, definitely sit down with a professional that can say, hey, listen, here are some things that you may want to consider, and here's some things that we can do to help mitigate this for you, some of those challenges. That way, you're not running into a situation where you're retiring early because you have to, and then after the fact, you retire, you get hit by surprise health insurance costs or, COBRA and all these other things. And then you're like, oh man, now I got to figure out a way to make some money on the side because I'm falling short every month. And now we're putting money back on credit cards or whatever we got to do in order to make up that shortfall. Because the other thing that we got to take into consideration is that whatever income you need now, we have to have a plan in place that's going to allow you to get incremental adjustments that are going to allow you to offset inflation. Because yeah, you might need X amount now, but down the road, we may have to, again, you may need larger amounts. And what's the plan for that? So there's a lot to it. And if you're going to retire early, 100%, you need to sit down with a professional. So if you want to sit down and you've been procrastinating and you're just like, hey, listen, you know what? I'm tired of procrastinating. What I'm going to do to make your life easier, if you want, give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980. You can actually sit down with me directly. I'll be happy to give you an hour of my time. And like I tell every week almost, you give me an hour of your time and I can guarantee I'll give you at least 2 ideas that'll enhance whatever it is that you're doing, and it'll cost you nothing. But again, just call us toll free, 800-700-1980.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC.